Hi guys, welcome back. I think it's been a while since we've talked. In fact, I think it's been 2 years and in Norway since we last talked. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sarah. I'm an American living abroad, and I kind of want to refresh my story as where I am and kind of what I'm doing right now, and maybe give you guys a little insight in the future. I have my notes in case you see me looking down so I can remember my story, because there's been a lot of changes here and there. I live in the Netherlands, and when I last left you guys, I was in Norway. So for those of you who don't know, I was in Norway for a Workaway. And Workaway is like a work exchange program. Work 25 hours a week in exchange for free lodging. And in this case, I was working with sled dogs. So I stayed with this great Norwegian family. I got to bake bread, carry wood, feed the sled dogs, and then in the evenings, my host, she would teach me how to work with sled dogs. It was amazing. So I got to mush all the time, skiing, like cross-country skiing. I got to ride snowmobiles, ice fishing, going out every single day. Every single day you had to be outside in nature. Sometimes it was like negative 30 degrees Celsius, and it was amazing. I was really happy there. I was really enjoying nature, and that eventually did have to come to an end. I was there for about 2 months from January, like throughout January and February. And it's, in the Arctic Circle, a few hours from Russia, driving. So very far north of Norway, for any of you who kind of have a gauge on Norway's size. And then after Norway, I came down to the Netherlands, actually, which is where I live now, but that's kind of not where the story ends. So I was visiting a friend here in the Netherlands who used to live with me in Colorado, and she showed me her city. And at first I was very against it because, as you can imagine, I just come from nature and very remote area. The closest town was 3,000 people, and we lived 30 to 40 minutes outside of town. So it was very like what's the word? Shocking to come back into society in a way, because first of all, you're living almost 24 hours of darkness. Well, I lived about a month without sun, and then suddenly you're coming to somewhere that there's a lot more people. The Netherlands is the most densely populated country in Europe, so I didn't know that before coming here. So I came from like the least densely populated to the most densely populated, and I think it was a bit of a shock for me. And initially I didn't think I liked the Netherlands. It was also winter, so I think regardless, Europe is pretty gray in the winter, especially if you're not north enough to be in the snow, then it's just kind of gray. Which is also different coming from Colorado, which is where I'm originally from. We have a lot of sun and more intense seasons. We actually have snow. A lot of Europe doesn't have snow anymore, which is really sad. Anyways, after that, my friend and I met my family in Switzerland. So I went from Norway to the Netherlands for about a week, and then down to Switzerland. And there I met my family. If you don't know, I'm also part Swiss. I'm Swiss American. So I met my dad, met my family, we went skiing, and then I met up with some friends that I actually met in Norway who were also doing a workaway at the Husky, I don't want to say farm, the Husky property next door. So they were also working with some animals next door. So it was a couple, and I became really good friends with the girl, and so we met in Geneva afterwards, and then we went to a place called Verbier in Switzerland. And unfortunately in the story, this is where I got really sick. So I was really sick from, I think it was COVID, mono, and strep around the same time, and then I had to go back to the US because of that. And I kind of hadn't planned beyond Norway, actually. I just planned my trip up until Norway, and then when I had a friend in the Netherlands, she's like, oh, visit me, and then my family said they could visit me in Switzerland, so it kind of all worked out. And then when I went back to the US, I got a little bit better, and then I was invited on a trip back to Switzerland and in France. So I went back to Switzerland, I met up with a friend, then him and I went down to Nice, France for a little bit, and that was really lovely. I'd never been to the south of France. I think it was beautiful, clear water, very sunny, very warm. It was kind of my first time experiencing Europe in the summertime as an adult on my own. And I got to be with someone who was French speaking, so that also makes it a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable. And then after France, I came back to the Netherlands. So in my story, I kind of go somewhere and I come back to the Netherlands, I go somewhere else. It was helpful that I had a friend that I could stay on her couch. That's kind of what kept bringing me back. And then I went back to the US. When I was in the US, I haven't mentioned this on here, but I was in a relationship, and that was coming to an end. We're all good. Like, there's no bad blood between us. It's just kind of what happened in the end. And that's okay. That was coming to an end. And I knew I had to find new housing because I lived with him. He had just bought a house. So I had to find somewhere else to live. And so it was kind of find somewhere in that area in Colorado, move back with my parents, or for some reason I thought I was capable to just move back to Europe without a plan within a month. And that's what I did. So I moved back to the Netherlands. And little did I know, for anyone living here in the Netherlands or have experienced the Netherlands, since it is the most densely populated country and very small, it's very hard to find housing. I struggled quite a bit with housing, and I stayed in my friend's apartment for about a month, which was really kind of her. And then I couldn't find housing, so I left to live in France for about 3 weeks. So I did another workaway in France, and in France, I stayed with these British people, ironically, who owned a farm in France, and I helped them with their horses. So there's about 11 horses. Rocky Mountain horses, I think, was the breed, and I got to do Western riding. I also grew up horseback riding, so it was a really great experience for me. It was beautiful. Normandy, France, rolling hills. All the horses got to live in this like forested area, so if you wanted to go get them, they were grazing in the forest. It was beautiful. After Normandy, I did happen to find housing through Facebook, and I was like, this is it. When I came to the Netherlands, I became a barista. I've been a barista since I was 15, I believe. So it's been a long time of making coffee. So in this case, let me just run you through the timeline one more time. I just know I started in Norway, and then I moved to the Netherlands in September, like officially moved to the Netherlands in September. And from September to May, I was just working as a barista. I started taking some online courses for web development, actually. So I started deciding what I should do professionally. And then I got a really cool opportunity in New York City. So I think you can kind of see a theme here. It's just like one thing brings to another. And in New York City, I was offered an internship as a front-end developer with Rockstar Games. I can't really go into the internship because there's a lot of privacy around Rockstar, and I really respect that. All I can say was amazing company, very talented people, excellent experience. Also, it was a beautiful part of like Manhattan, and I was just stunned. New York was beautiful. Even though I'm American, I'd never been to New York before, and I'd never had any interest before, and now I think I get it. I get why so many people are like, the energy there is different. There is something special there. There's something special. I got to live in Brooklyn. I lived in Crown Heights, and then I worked in Manhattan. So 3 days a week, I had to like take the subway and everything to Manhattan. And then Monday, Friday, I had remote working, and then I had the weekends off. So New York was lovely. I made friends with Russian people, Ukrainian people. I had really cool roommates. It just really worked out for myself. And while I was in New York, I actually wanted to start YouTube again, and I'm really sad that I didn't, but I don't know why I couldn't bring myself to face it. But yeah, I was in New York City, and then after the internship ended, I came back to the Netherlands. I kind of wanted to stay there, but they weren't hiring at the moment. And then I came back to the Netherlands, and this is where I had a really hard time.